The wind was colder than usual that night. Emma pulled her thin coat tighter around herself as she sat on the edge of the sidewalk, her small daughter asleep in her lap. The city rushed past them, cars, lights, people, yet no one stopped. No one ever did. Her daughter stirred slightly, and Emma gently brushed her hair back, forcing a soft smile despite the emptiness in her stomach. "Just a little longer," she whispered. She didn't know what she was waiting for. Hope, maybe. Or just another night to pass. Then, suddenly, a black luxury car slowed down in front of them. That alone was strange. Cars like that didn't belong in this part of the city. They didn't stop for people like her. The door opened. A man stepped out. Tall, well-dressed, calm. Everything about him felt out of place. Emma's body tensed instantly. People didn't approach without a reason. And rarely, for a good one. He walked toward her slowly, his eyes not filled with pity, but curiosity. That was worse. He stopped just a few steps away, looked at her, then at the child, then back at her, and without saying a word, he pulled out a black credit card and held it toward her. "Use this," he said quietly. Emma didn't move, didn't reach for it, because deep down, she knew this wasn't kindness. This was something else. Emma stared at the card, not because she wanted it, because she didn't understand it. People didn't just hand over credit cards to strangers, especially not people like him. "Why?" she asked quietly. Her voice was cautious, guarded. The man didn't hesitate. "Because I want to see what you'll do with it." That answer didn't make things better. It made them worse. Emma's grip tightened slightly around her daughter. A test. That's what this was. Not help. Not kindness. A test. "And if I say no?" she asked. Her eyes didn't leave his. He studied her for a moment, then gave a small, almost unreadable smile. "Then I walk away," he said simply. No pressure. No persuasion. Just a choice. That made it heavier. Emma looked down at her daughter. Her small face looked peaceful, unaware of the cold, the hunger, the uncertainty. That sight alone made something inside Emma ache. "How long?" she asked quietly. 24 hours, he replied. "Use it however you want. No limits." No limits. Those two words echoed louder than anything else. No limits meant food, warmth, safety, things she hadn't had in a long time. But it also meant something else. Temptation, risk, control. "There's one rule," he added. Emma looked back at him instantly. Of course there was. "There always is," she said. A faint smile crossed his face. "You can't give the card away," he said. "That's it." That's it? It sounded simple. Too simple. "What happens after 24 hours?" she asked. "I come back," he said. "And you return it." Return it. Just like that. No explanation. No guarantee. No promise of what came next. Emma looked at the card again. It didn't look special. Just a small piece of plastic. But right now, it felt heavier than anything she had ever held. Behind the offer, there was something she couldn't see. Something hidden. Something important. And for a moment, she hesitated. Because sometimes, the hardest part isn't accepting help. It's understanding why it was offered in the first place. The card felt cold in Emma's hand. Too smooth. Too clean. Like it didn't belong in her world. She stood there for a long moment after the man left, staring at it, as if it might disappear. But it didn't. It stayed. Real. Heavy. Dangerous. "Mom." Her daughter's soft voice broke the silence. Emma looked down quickly. Two small eyes stared up at her, tired, hungry, trusting. That look alone made the decision harder. Not easier. Because now, it wasn't just about her. It was about what kind of choice she would make. "Are we okay?" her daughter asked quietly. Emma forced a small smile. "We will be," she whispered. But even she wasn't sure if that was true. She adjusted her daughter in her arms and began walking. Slowly, carefully, as if each step mattered. Because it did. A few blocks ahead, bright lights filled the street. Luxury stores. Clean glass windows. Expensive clothes on display. warmth behind every door, everything she had gone without for months. She stopped, just for a second. Her eyes drifted to a dress in one of the windows. Simple, elegant, beautiful. The kind of thing she used to wear, before life changed, before everything fell apart. Her fingers tightened slightly around the card. No limits. That's what he said. She could walk in. Buy it. Buy anything. No one would stop her. No one would question her. For once, she wouldn't feel invisible. That thought alone was tempting. Dangerously tempting. But then, a small tug on her sleeve. She looked down. Her daughter was pointing across the street, to a small, quiet diner. Nothing fancy. Nothing special. But inside, people were eating. Warm food. Hot drinks. Comfort. Emma's gaze shifted between the two. The bright luxury store. And the simple diner. One offered image. The other offered need. Her grip on the card tightened again. Her heart pounded softly. Because this wasn't just a choice about money. It was a choice about who she was. And who she refused to become. She took a slow breath. Then, without another glance at the store, she turned and walked toward the diner. The bell above the door rang softly as she stepped inside. Warm air wrapped around her instantly. Her daughter smiled. A real smile. And that alone made the decision feel right. Emma approached the counter slowly, pulled out the card, and for the first time, she used it. Not for luxury. Not for herself. But for something far more important. Something simple. Something real. Food. Because sometimes, the first choice reveals everything about a person. And tonight, Emma had just shown exactly who she was. The receipt was small, almost weightless, but Emma held it carefully, as if it mattered. Because it did. A simple meal. Soup. Bread. Warm milk for her daughter. Nothing more. Nothing extra. No luxury. No excess. Just enough. Across the street, inside a parked car, he watched. Silently. Carefully. The billionaire leaned back slightly in his seat, his eyes fixed on the diner window. He had seen this before. Many times. Give someone unlimited access. And watch what they reveal. Greed. Desperation. Impulse. People always chose more. More than they needed. More than they deserved. That's how it always went. But this was different. He watched as Emma sat at the small table, her daughter happily eating. No rush. No panic. No guilt. Just quiet relief. That alone made his brows tighten slightly. Interesting. He glanced down briefly at his phone. A notification blinked on the screen. Transaction alert. Amount. Small. Location. Local diner. That was it. No designer store. No luxury purchase. No attempt to test the limits. Just food. He looked back up. Something about it didn't sit right. Not wrong. Just unexpected. Most people would have gone for something bigger. The driver muttered quietly from the front seat. The billionaire didn't respond. Because he was thinking. Analyzing. Trying to understand. Was it fear? Was she too afraid to spend more? Or was it choice? His eyes narrowed slightly as he watched her again. Emma broke a piece of bread and handed it to her daughter first. Only after her child was full did she take a bite herself. That small action spoke louder than anything else. Not selfish. Not impulsive. Careful. Deliberate. And something else. Disciplined. That was rare. Very rare. She doesn't trust it, the driver added. That's why she's holding back. Maybe. That would have been the easy explanation. The comfortable one. But something about her behavior didn't match fear. Fear rushes. Fear grabs. Fear takes everything before it's gone. But she didn't rush. She didn't grab. She didn't take more than she needed. That wasn't fear. That was control. The billionaire leaned forward slightly. Now, he was interested. Keep watching, he said quietly. Because this test was no longer simple. It wasn't about money anymore. It was about character. And character was far more valuable. Inside the diner, Emma wiped her daughter's hands gently. Her movements were soft, careful, like she had done this 1,000 times before. No sign of excitement. No sign of greed. Just calm. As if having access to unlimited money didn't change who she was. That thought lingered. And for the first time since the night began, the billionaire felt something unexpected. Not curiosity. Not calculation. Respect. But he didn't show it. Not yet. Because one good choice didn't mean everything. Not in his world. Not in his experience. People revealed themselves over time. Not moments. And this was only the beginning. He leaned back again, eyes still locked on the diner. Because the real question wasn't what she chose first. The real question was, what would she choose next? When no one was watching. Emma stepped out of the diner slowly. The warmth stayed behind. The cold returned instantly. But something had changed. Her daughter was smiling, holding her hand tightly, walking beside her instead of being carried. That alone made the night feel lighter. But the card still felt heavy in her pocket. Too heavy. Because it wasn't just money. It was choice. And choice comes with responsibility. "Where are we going now?" her daughter asked softly. Emma didn't answer immediately. Because she didn't know. Not yet. Her eyes moved across the street again. This time, she didn't look at the luxury stores. She looked past them. Toward something else. A pharmacy. Bright lights. Clean windows. Warm inside. Her steps slowed. Then stopped. Her daughter coughed lightly. A small sound. But enough. Enough to make the decision for her. Without hesitation this time, Emma turned and walked toward the pharmacy. Inside, the air smelled clean. Organized. Safe. She approached the counter quietly. "Can I help you?" the pharmacist asked. Emma nodded slightly. "My daughter, she's been coughing," she said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes carried worry. Real worry. Minutes later, a small bag sat in her hand. Medicine. Basic. Necessary. Nothing more. Another transaction. Another alert. Inside the car across the street. He watched again. Another notification appeared. Transaction alert. Location. Pharmacy. Amount. Low. He stared at the screen for a moment. Then looked up again. Food. Now medicine. Still no luxury. Still no waste. Still no sign of temptation winning. This was no longer coincidence. This was pattern. And patterns don't lie. "She's still playing it safe," the driver said. But this time, the billionaire shook his head slightly. "No," he said quietly. "She's not playing safe." His eyes narrowed just slightly. "She's prioritizing." That word hung in the air, because it meant something different. Something deeper. Most people, when given unlimited access, reveal what they want. But she was revealing what she valued. And those two things are never the same. Back on the street, Emma knelt down in front of her daughter, opened the small bag, carefully gave her the medicine. Her movements were gentle, precise, like she couldn't afford to make mistakes. Because she couldn't. "Better?" she asked softly. Her daughter nodded, a small smile returning. That smile was worth more than anything that card could buy. Emma stood up slowly, slipped the card back into her pocket, and for the first time, she didn't feel tempted. She felt focused, because now, she understood something clearly. This wasn't about spending money. It was about using it right. And somewhere, without her knowing, someone was watching, learning, reconsidering, because what he expected to see tonight was slowly being proven wrong. And that made this test far more dangerous than he planned. Because when expectations break, so do assumptions. And once assumptions break, everything changes. The night grew quieter. Fewer cars. Fewer people. But Emma kept walking. Not aimlessly. Not slowly. With purpose. The card stayed in her pocket, untouched since the pharmacy. Not because she forgot about it. Because she was thinking. Carefully. "What now?" her daughter asked softly. Emma looked down at her, then ahead, and then she saw them. Two figures sitting near a closed storefront. A man, older, thin, and beside him, a young boy, wrapped in a worn-out blanket, shivering. The sight hit instantly. Familiar. Too familiar. Because not long ago, that had been them. Emma stopped walking. Her daughter followed her gaze. "Mom," she whispered. Emma didn't respond. Not right away. Because a quiet conflict had already started inside her. She had the card. She had access. She had opportunity. But there was a rule. She couldn't give the card away. That meant no direct help. No handing it over. No easy solution. But still, she stood there, thinking, watching. Because sometimes, the right choice isn't obvious. It has to be created. Slowly, Emma turned toward a nearby convenience store. Not fancy. Not expensive. Just enough. Inside, she moved quickly. Focused. Deliberate. Bread. Water. Simple food. A blanket. Warm, but cheap. Nothing unnecessary. Nothing wasted. Minutes later, she walked back out. Her daughter held her hand tightly. Confused, but quiet. Emma approached the two figures slowly, careful not to startle them. The man looked up. Surprised. Uncertain. Emma didn't say much. She simply placed the bag beside them. Gently. Respectfully. "We had extra," she said softly. Not charity. Not pity. Just sharing. The man stared at the bag. Then at her. His eyes filled with something unspoken. Gratitude. But also confusion. Because help like this rarely came without a reason. Emma didn't wait for thanks. Didn't wait for reaction. She simply turned. And walked away. Her daughter looked back once. Then up at her. "Why did you do that?" she asked. Emma paused for a second. Then smiled softly. "Because we could," she replied. Simple. Honest. And enough. Across the street. Inside the car. He had seen everything. Not through alerts this time. Through his own eyes. And for the first time since the night began. He didn't check his phone. Didn't analyze the numbers. Didn't question the logic. Because what he had just witnessed couldn't be measured. Couldn't be calculated. It was something else. Something rare. Something real. And as he leaned back slowly, one thought became clear. This wasn't a test anymore. This was a revelation. Because she didn't just make good choices. She made the right ones. Even when no one asked her to. Even when no one expected it. And that changed everything. The sky began to lighten. Slowly. Quietly. The cold night softened into a pale morning. Emma hadn't slept much. Not really. She and her daughter had found a small covered spot near a clothes shop, just enough to rest for a few hours. But her mind never stopped moving. The card was still there. Safe. Untouched since last night. And yet, it felt heavier now than before. Not because of temptation. Because of responsibility. "Mom," her daughter murmured softly, still half asleep. Emma gently brushed her hair back. "We are okay," she whispered again. But this time, it felt more real. She stood up slowly, stretching her stiff arms, then looked around. The city was waking up. People heading to work. Coffee shops opening. Normal life continuing. And she was still standing outside it. Still watching. Still waiting. But today felt different. Because today, she had a choice. A real one. Her eyes scanned the street. Then stopped. A small motel sign flickered a few blocks away. Old. Simple. But open. Warm. Safe. Her steps slowed. Then stopped completely. For a moment, she just stood there. Because this wasn't a small decision. Food was temporary. Medicine was necessary. But this was comfort. Rest. Safety for her daughter. And comfort sometimes feels like luxury when you've gone without it long enough. Her grip tightened slightly. Was this too much? Was this crossing a line? Or was this exactly what the card was meant for? She looked down at her daughter. Still tired. Still weak. Still trusting. That answered everything. Without another thought, Emma turned and walked toward the motel. Inside, the receptionist barely looked up. "How long?" he asked casually. "Just one night," Emma replied. Her voice was calm. Steady. No hesitation. No fear. Because this time, she wasn't guessing. She was choosing. Minutes later, a key rested in her hand. Room 12. Simple. Small. But theirs. For one night. She opened the door slowly. Warm air greeted her instantly. A clean bed. Soft light. Quiet. Her daughter's eyes widened. "Is this ours?" she whispered. Emma smiled softly. "For tonight," she said. That was enough. Her daughter ran inside, laughing softly for the first time in days. That sound, that pure, light sound, filled the room completely. Emma stepped in behind her, closed the door gently, and for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to breathe. Really breathe. Not just survive, but exist. Across the street, parked quietly, he watched again. Another alert had come through. Transaction, motel stay, minimal cost. He looked at the screen, then at the small building, then back at the screen. Still nothing excessive. Still nothing wasteful. Just necessary. His eyes narrowed slightly. Because now, the pattern was undeniable. Food, medicine, shelter. Nothing more. Nothing less. She wasn't testing limits. She wasn't exploring freedom. She was building stability. Step by step. Choice by choice. And that was something he had never seen before. Because most people, when given opportunity, think bigger, spend faster, lose control. But she was doing the opposite. She was thinking clearly, acting carefully, choosing wisely. And as he leaned back slowly, one thought settled firmly in his mind. This wasn't luck. This wasn't fear. This was who she was. And people like that didn't stay invisible for long. The morning passed quietly. No rush. No pressure. Just peace. Emma folded the thin motel blanket carefully, even though she didn't need to. Her daughter sat on the bed, smiling, rested, warm, finally relaxed. That alone made everything worth it. But the time had come. Emma looked at the card in her hand. Still the same. Still simple. Still powerful. But now, it didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt complete. "Are we leaving?" her daughter asked softly. Emma nodded. Yes. No hesitation. No doubt. Because she had already made every choice that mattered. Outside, the air was brighter. Warmer. The city fully awake now. People moved quickly, focused on their own lives. But Emma walked calmly, step by step, back to the same place, the same street, where everything had started. And just like before, a black car was waiting. Right on time. The door opened. He stepped out again, calm, composed, watching her closely. But this time, his expression was different. Not curious. Not testing. Observing. Emma walked up to him. No fear. No hesitation. Just quiet certainty. She reached into her pocket, pulled out the card, and held it toward him. "I'm done," she said. Simple. Clear. No explanation. No story. No attempt to impress. He didn't take it immediately. His eyes stayed on her, studying, measuring, searching for something, anything. But there was nothing extra to find. No hidden intention. No guilt. No greed. Just honesty. Finally, he took the card. Slowly. Carefully. As if it meant more now than it did before. "Did you use it?" he asked. A simple question, but one with weight. Emma nodded. Yes. He waited, maybe expecting more. An explanation. A defense. A justification. But none came. Because she didn't feel the need to explain her choices. Not anymore. He glanced down briefly, then back at her. "You didn't take advantage," he said. Not a question. A statement. Emma shook her head softly. I took what we needed. That answer changed something. Not visibly. Not dramatically. But deeply. For a moment, neither of them spoke, because everything important had already been said. And in that silence, a new understanding formed. One he hadn't expected. One she hadn't planned. Because this moment was never really about money. It was about something else entirely. And now, he was starting to see it clearly. He looked at the card in his hand. Then back at Emma. For a moment, he said nothing. Not because he didn't know what to say, but because he was choosing his words carefully. You know why I did this? He asked finally. Emma shook her head. No. She hadn't asked. Not yesterday. Not now. Because somehow, the reason didn't matter as much as the choices she had made. He gave a small nod, almost as if he expected that answer. I've done this before, he said. His tone was calm. Measured. Different people. Different places. Emma listened quietly. No reaction. No curiosity on her face. Just attention. Most people fail within the first hour, he continued. They go for the biggest store, the most expensive item, things they don't even need. His eyes shifted slightly, as if remembering, as if having access means they have to prove something. Emma stayed silent, because deep down, she understood that. More than he realized. But you didn't, he said. This time, his voice carried something different. Not surprise. Not curiosity. Respect. You bought food, he added. Then medicine. A small pause. Then you helped someone else. That last part lingered in the air, because that wasn't part of the test. Not something expected. Not something required. Emma lowered her gaze slightly. Not out of shame. Just reflection. They needed it, she said simply. No explanation. No pride. Just truth. He watched her carefully. And in that moment, something became clear to him. She wasn't trying to impress him. She wasn't trying to pass a test. She wasn't performing. She was just being herself. And that made all the difference. Do you know what that means? He asked. Emma looked up at him. No. He gave a quiet breath. It means you didn't change, he said. Even when you had the chance to. That sentence carried weight. Because in his world, change was immediate. Money changed people. Power changed people. Opportunity revealed things they didn't even know about themselves. But her, it didn't. And that was rare. Very rare. He slipped the card back into his wallet slowly, then looked at her again. Not as someone being tested, but as someone being understood. People like you don't stay where you are, he said. Emma didn't respond, because she didn't know if that was true, or just another assumption. But something about the way he said it felt different, more certain, more real. And for the first time, the test didn't feel like it had ended. It felt like something else was about to begin. He reached into his coat pocket again. Not for the card this time. For something else. A small, simple envelope. He held it out toward Emma. This isn't part of the test, he said. Emma didn't take it immediately. Her eyes moved from the envelope to his face. Then what is it? She asked. A choice, he replied. That word again. But this time, it felt different. He continued. A job. A place to stay. A way forward. No pressure. No conditions. Just an offer. Emma looked down at her daughter. Then back at him. Because this decision was bigger than the last ones. Slower. More important. Why me? She asked quietly. He paused for a second. Then answered honestly. Because you chose right, when no one was watching. Silence followed. But this time, it wasn't heavy. It was hopeful. Emma took the envelope slowly. Not out of desperation, but with understanding. Because for the first time in a long time, this didn't feel like luck. It felt like a beginning.